At a minimum, you'll need to figure out 4 pieces of the process to have a successful, holistic personal organization system. But don't worry, I'm going to walk you through each step, give you some of my recommendations, and also give you some tips and tricks so that you can avoid common pitfalls if you are searching through the interwebs looking for a personal organization system. But if we haven't met before, hi, my name is Jay. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, fairly obsessed with human optimization through personal organization. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If you want to get your life in order for the next year, you are going to need 4 things. First, you're going to need some sort of calendar system or some way of organizing your time-based events. Secondly, you're going to need some sort of task management system, a way to gather up all of your to-dos. Third, you're going to need a file management system, some way of collecting all of those little pieces of information and some way of storing those little pieces of information in the event you need to gather them up or pull them up for reference in the future. Last, you're going to need some sort of system so that you know how these 3 components of personal organization work and move together. The first thing you're going to need is some sort of calendar. Calendars can be either digital or on paper. Whatever calendar you use should have different views. For example, if you're using Google Calendar, you can look at your time in a monthly overview. You can also zoom in and look at things on a weekly overview, which lets you break down your individual days of the weeks by the hour, or you can look at a daily overview, but a calendar, be it electronic or in an analog form, needs to give you different views so that you can have an optimal time management system. The digital calendar that I like the most is a Google Calendar. I like it because it syncs with my computer. I can access it on my desktop at home or at work, and it also has a really good digital app so I can access the calendar on my iPad and on my iPhone. Additionally, I could share the calendars. Because Google Calendar syncs with iCal, I can share that calendar with my husband, who only uses the native Apple Calendar in his phone. So I personally use the Google Calendar as my electronic calendar. If you're looking to go the analog route, there are totally acceptable options that give you the ability to look at things at both the monthly level and the weekly level, some even on the daily level. My favorite planner that lets you look at your time in monthly, weekly, and daily increments is the Hobonichi. It was much harder to get your hands on these types of Japanese planners a few years ago, but starting last year, these planners became available on Amazon, and they're a little bit easier to get your hands on with some reasonable shipping costs. Having a good weekly calendar is pretty much all you'll need to get this portion of your personal organization system in check. The point of the calendar within this larger system is to have one space where you put in all of your time-based events. Anything that requires you to physically be present or that requires you to do something at a specific date and time go into the calendar. In addition to telling you where you need to be and what you'll be doing there, the calendar serves as a central hub of organization for people developing an organization system. All right, you know where you need to be, you know what you're going to be doing when you're there, and you may even be showing up on time. The next step is to have some sort of task management system. A task management system is just a way to capture all of the to-dos. If you go to a meeting, you'll likely have some do-outs. If you go to a parent-teacher conference, the teacher might be telling you to go back home and check on A, B, or C. And if you're heading to Target, you'll need to collect up all of the things that you need to return before you head out the door. All of these to-dos will need to be collected again in some sort of centralized location. If you are leaning more toward a digital task management system, you could look into some native apps like the Notes app in the Apple ecosystem that allows you to do a to-do list. There are several apps out there that are also focused on to-do lists, and you can just have a good old paper and pencil and work out your to-do lists there. Right now, we are simply gathering up all of the to-dos and practicing writing all of those things down in one centralized location. The file management system needs to consist of two levels. One level are things that are just coming in that you haven't done anything with. And the second level is a filing cabinet or some sort of way to file things away so that you have them for reference if you need them. In email, it could be as simple as moving things from an inbox to a reference or an archive. And in paper form, it could be something as easy as having a two-tiered paper tray where one of them is an inbox and the other one is a reference box. Once you're moving out of the beginner stage and more into intermediate, we can discuss ways of managing those files. But the important thing here when you're trying to start an organization system is to have some sort of way of collecting these to-dos or time-related events or just notes that you're getting into an inbox, one centralized location, and one place where you can store things in the event that you need to refer to them in the future. Those are the three things that you're going to need to set up in order to move toward being a more organized person. But the fourth thing is a process. The process that you're going to use these three things, your calendar system, your task management system, and your file system, how are you going to use them all together so that you can have a more organized life? The process of figuring out how to get these three systems to work together is the secret sauce in personal organization. If you're able to understand this framework, you'll be able to plug in your personal systems so that you can have optimal organization moving forward. The first phase of this organization framework requires you to start to develop an awareness of when something needs to be put into your organization system. Sometimes I'm having a conversation with my brother, for example, and as we're talking, I understand the purpose of this call is to provide him some new parent support. It's not going to require me scheduling a follow-up meeting with him. The purpose of that is just connection. There are times when I'm talking to my husband, he could need me to call someone to clean out our gutters because he's noticed that the gutters are clogged and he's telling me like this isn't something that I can handle this week. Over time, you'll start to develop an awareness of when a situation is actually an input into your personal organization system. In an ideal situation, that would trigger you to enter that input into your personal organization system. Just knowing when someone tells you something that needs to be scheduled, you need to do something about that. When there is a task that's presented to you, you need to do something about that. And when there is a piece of information that you think might be helpful to you in the future, you need to do something about that. It's about being aware of when you can just let this moment pass you by and when you need to take a moment as an indication that you need to do something. Once you have that awareness, you move to the second part of the organization phase, which is sorting that. We've already talked about the three things that you need to have in place for personal organization. So if you're getting some sort of input and you are aware, this is a schedule-based input. This is a request for a meeting. This is an appointment. This is something that's going to require me to follow up with this person. All of those inputs require a specific time-based action from you. So the sorting process for something that's time-based is to put it into your calendar. You might be aware that someone is asking you to do something or there's a task at hand. So once you have awareness that the situation requires you to do something related to a task, you're going to put that into your task management system. You're going to put that into your to-do app. You're going to put that on your to-do list in your paper planner or your notebook. If you notice that the information that you're getting, you are aware that this is something I might want to do something with in the future, or this is something that may be time-based, may require a schedule, or it may require me to do something like a task with it, so you're unsure of it, you want to be aware that that is something that needs to go into your system, and that is going to go into your file management system. So it's going to go into your file management inbox because you're not sure if you have to schedule it, you're not sure if this is going to be related to a to-do, or you're not sure if it doesn't really require any specific action from you right now, but it might be something that you want to look into in the future. It might be something you need to reference. But right now, you're just going to put it in your inbox. Phase 3 is the review process. If you recall, your inbox has like a hodgepodge of things. The first thing that you want to do is sort things out from that inbox and make sure that you're putting them in one of 3 places. You are either scheduling them into your calendar, you are putting them into your to-do list, into your task management system, or you are putting them into the reference section of your file cabinet, so you're moving them away and they are no longer in your inbox. The purpose of this weekly review is to have a completely empty inbox, be that electronic inbox in your email or a physical inbox where you're keeping physical paper. The goal here is to make sure that you've cleared everything out so that nothing falls through the cracks. There are things from that file inbox that have been scheduled into your calendar. Now you want to take the time to review what's actually on your calendar to ensure that there are no conflicts, to ensure that you know where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing when you're there. For your calendar or time-based tasks, it's going to be important to develop some sort of cadence of checking your calendar, some rhythm in which you check your calendar, some routine where you are checking your calendar. I look at my time-based tasks or my schedule on a weekly basis. So that's every Sunday when I do my weekly review. But I also look at my calendar every morning because sometimes I might forget that I have a specific meeting coming up or that I agreed to have lunch with someone. So it helps for me to look at my calendar every Sunday to do a review and every morning to do a review of where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing there. In a moment of scheduling inception, I actually schedule a time in my calendar to review my calendar for the week. So I have a reminder on my calendar on Sunday evening to do a weekly review. And I also have a reminder on my calendar in the morning to review the rest of today's events on the calendar. When it comes to calendars, there are some definite pros to having your calendar in a digital form. One of those pros is that you can set up digital alerts. I have my Apple Watch, which reminds me when something is coming up on my schedule, and I also use notifications on my desktop to let me know when something is coming up on my calendar. I have almost all of my notifications off on my phone, my desktop, and my watch, with the exception of time-based tasks. So anything that's on my schedule, I'm fine getting a notification for. We are still in the review process, and in that process, you also want to review your to-dos. I review my to-dos on a weekly basis. For your to-dos, you need to set up some sort of to-do management system. There are many ways to tackle a to-do list, but the point of the review in phase 3 is to make sure that you are aware of everything that you need to do and that you're moving into some sort of action phase to actually get those to-dos done. Since you've already reviewed your schedule for the week and for the day, you know when there are open pockets of time that you could potentially plug in some to-dos. The fourth phase of this process is the doing phase, and you're actually doing things with these 3 components of your organization system. We've already started doing things with our filing system because we've started to sort them based on whether or not they're schedule-based or to-do based. We have started to do something with our schedule. We have set up specific reminders and a specific review cadence so that we know exactly where we're supposed to be when, and then we actually need to attend those schedule events. In terms of doing your to-do list, you have some options. One of the ways this phased approach helps you to actually do your to-dos is that it identifies pockets of time in your schedule where you can plug in those to-dos. But it's not always easy figuring out when you should be scheduling the to-dos, how you should be scheduling the to-dos, and how you should be prioritizing your energy. If you're interested in different ways to tackle your to-do list, I have a video right here talking about just that. And if you're not yet subscribed, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and come back for more content.